Hello there guys, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we are going to look at 4 common misconceptions about being fluent in English, and we're going to debunk them. So without further ado, let's get started. Myth number 1: I need to live in an English-speaking country. Now for our first myth, I often hear people say that,
Oh, well, if you want to be fluent, then, you need to live in an English-speaking country.
while it's true that living in an English-speaking country can speed up the learning process, it's not the only way to achieve fluency. One thing that you can do is to create your own English-speaking environment. Now, let's look at some options, what you can do to do this. First one is, if you are a student and you study in a university, there's a chance that your university has a group for international students. So you can join them, and that way you can meet people from other countries and you can practice your English by talking to them. But if you're not in university, one thing that you can do is to meet people online. There are websites like Cambly or italki where you can easily meet people from other countries and practice speaking English with them. Or if you want to do it for free, you can join communities on social media like Facebook. There are many groups out there on Facebook where you can meet people with the same interest, and also with the same goals when it comes to language learning. So that can definitely help you practice speaking English and become more fluent. Doing all these can contribute to your language immersion. So remember, it's about creating an environment that exposes you to English consistently, even if you're not physically in an English-speaking country. Myth number 2: I need to learn with a native speaker. Now, this second myth is, the belief that, the only way that you can become fluent in English is if you learn with a native speaker as your teacher. Now, yes, it's true that learning with a native speaker can be beneficial, but it's not a requirement, especially when you are still at the early stages of learning English. The reason for this is that non-native speakers have gone through the process of learning English, and they've made, all the mistakes that you will probably make. And in this way, they can offer a unique perspective. And in many cases, non-native teachers tend to understand the grammar rules better, and they can break them down for learners so that it's easier for them to grasp. They may also be more familiar with common obstacles that learners experience because they themselves were once learners and made these mistakes. So yeah, learning with a native speaker is not a requirement. If your teacher is a non-native speaker, they can be just as useful as a native speaker. Myth number 3: I'll start practice speaking when I no longer make grammar mistakes. This myth revolves around the fear of making mistakes when speaking English. Many learners hesitate to practice because they fear that if they make mistakes when they're speaking, then people will judge them for doing that. Now, let me tell you, this belief is completely unfounded. When I was learning English, I used to feel the same way. However, I was pleasantly surprised when native speakers didn't judge me at all for making grammatical mistakes when speaking English. And not only that, but they were also more empathetic, towards my effort, because their focus was more on communicating rather than nitpicking, all the little grammar errors. And this is true for most people, is that, they appreciated my dedication to learning their language, and, they were always willing to help when I struggled. And myth number 4 is, I'm too old to be fluent. Let's debunk this misconception that age determines your ability to be fluent in English. While it's true that children have a greater capacity to become fluent in English naturally, it doesn't mean that adults are incapable of doing that. Now, how do I know? Well, this study, conducted on over 500,000 people, showed that our ability to acquire a second language remains present until the age of 18. Now, it doesn't mean that, once you've passed this age, then you're doomed to never reach fluency. It simply means that the learning process may take more time and effort. So remember, age might slow down the process of learning, but it certainly doesn't make it impossible. And there you have it. 4 myths about reaching fluency in English. Now, if there are other things that you think are holding you back from becoming fluent in English, let me know in the comment down below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. See you in the next one.